In 2008, one signature erased over $40 billion in value. Yahoo didn't lose to Google. It didn't lose to Facebook. It lost to its own CEO. At its peak, Yahoo controlled search, email, news, and media for half the internet. It had the users, it had the money, and it had multiple chances to dominate the future. So how did the company that once was the internet end up irrelevant? This isn't just a story about a failed business. It's a story about how pride, indecision, and a catastrophic lack of vision can bring down a giant. To understand what went wrong, we first have to remember what Yahoo once was. Back in 1994, two Stanford graduate students, Jerry Yang and David Filo, created a website called Jerry and David's Guide to the World Wide Web. It was basically a directory of other websites organized into a hierarchy. It soon became Yahoo. And it wasn't just a website. It was the gateway to the internet for millions of people. Think about that. Before Google made search a verb, Yahoo was how you found things online. It was your homepage, your email, your news source, and your stock tracker. By the early 2000s, its dominance was staggering. Over 500 million people used Yahoo every single month. It was one of the most visited websites on the entire planet. At the height of the dot-com bubble, its valuation soared to an incredible $125 billion. It was a titan, an institution. But inside the company, a different story was unfolding. Former engineers who worked there during its golden age described it as a place where every major internet idea already existed, just badly executed. Social networking, video streaming, photo sharing, you name it. Yahoo had a team working on it. But nothing was ever prioritized. Nothing was ever finished. Yahoo wasn't behind the curve. It was just profoundly confused about what it wanted to be. And that confusion led to the single biggest mistake in its history. In 1998, two other Stanford students came knocking on Yahoo's door. Their names were Larry Page and Sergey Brin, and their little startup was called Google. They had developed a new, superior search algorithm, and according to multiple accounts, they offered to sell their company to Yahoo for about $1 million. Yahoo said no. They didn't see the value. A few years passed. Google started growing fast. By 2002, Yahoo realized its own search technology was falling behind. So, they went back to Google, but the price had changed. Now, Google wanted $3 billion. Yahoo's leadership, including then CEO Terry Semel, hesitated. They offered a lower price, negotiations stalled, and they walked away again. Years later, former executives would publicly admit what a colossal mistake this was. They confessed that Yahoo simply did not fully understand the strategic importance of search technology. They owned the portal, but they let someone else own the keys to finding information. That one decision didn't just cost them a company. It fundamentally reshaped the internet as we know it, handing the future to their biggest rival on a silver platter. But the blunders didn't stop there. What followed was a decade of pure chaos at the top. Between 2001 and 2017, Yahoo cycled through 6 different CEOs. Each one arrived with a brand new vision. One year, Yahoo was a media company. The next, it was an advertising company. Then, it was a tech platform. Then, a content network. No strategy ever lasted long enough to actually work. Imagine trying to build a house when the architect keeps changing the blueprints every 6 months. That's what it was like inside Yahoo. Internal reports from that era paint a grim picture. Constant restructuring, conflicting priorities, and talented engineers leaving in waves for companies that actually knew what they were doing. Like Google and a new startup called Facebook. One former product manager summed it up perfectly. Every year felt like a reset. Nothing was ever finished. The company was suffering from strategic whiplash, lurching from one identity to another, all while its competitors were laser-focused on conquering their respective domains. And this internal turmoil set the stage for the final fatal blow. The point of no return came in 2008. Microsoft, seeing a chance to challenge Google's dominance in search and advertising, made an unsolicited offer to buy Yahoo outright. The price tag was a staggering $44.6 billion. This was a lifeline. It was an escape route from the chaos, a chance for Yahoo to merge with another tech giant and find stability and direction. For many investors and employees, it seemed like the only logical move. But Yahoo's co-founder and then CEO, Jerry Yang, rejected it. Publicly, he argued that the offer undervalued the company. He believed Yahoo was worth more, that it could recover on its own and turn things around independently. It was a decision driven by pride and a fundamental misreading of Yahoo's position in the market. He bet on a comeback that never came. The global financial crisis hit, digital advertising markets shifted, and Yahoo's value began to plummet. Within just a few years, that $44.6 billion offer looked like a fantasy. The company's value collapsed. In 2017, what was left of Yahoo's core internet business was sold to Verizon. For a mere $4.8 billion, a loss of over 90% from Microsoft's offer. Analysts now look back on that decision as one of the most destructive leadership failures in the history of technology. So what really killed Yahoo? It wasn't the competition. Google and Facebook were formidable, but Yahoo had the resources, the user base, and the head start to compete. No, Yahoo died from self-inflicted wounds. It died because its leadership couldn't commit to a single vision. It died because that vision kept changing with every new CEO. And ultimately, it died because ego got in the way of execution. Think about it. Google focused on one thing, search, and doing it better than anyone else. Facebook focused on one thing, social connection. They were disciplined. They were relentless. Meanwhile, Yahoo tried to be everything to everyone. It was a search engine, a news site, an email provider, a photo sharing service, a fantasy sports hub. In trying to be everything, it mastered nothing and ultimately became nothing. It was a sprawling, unfocused empire with no clear purpose. The story of Yahoo proves a brutal truth about business and innovation. Being first does unguarantee you last. And having all the power and resources in the world doesn't mean you actually know how to use them. Sometimes, the most dangerous thing a company can have is a leader who refuses to see the writing on the wall. A leader who refuses to admit they're wrong, even when the cost is everything. This wasn't a market failure. It was a leadership failure. Thanks for watching. If you found this story interesting, consider subscribing for more deep dives into the biggest stories in tech and business.